So I want you to imagine something for a second. Picture yourself walking,
Mm.
but you're not, on a sidewalk and you're not in a park.
Right.
You are walking on a razor-thin dirt path, like incredibly narrow, barely wide enough for your shoes to even fit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and right on either side of your feet, literally just inches away, are these steep, sheer drop-offs, like a jagged cliff on the left and a totally bottomless ravine on the right.
That is terrifying.
Right. One wrong move or just, a slight loss of balance, and that's it. It's a really long way down. Now, just to make this scenario a little more interesting, you are completely blindfolded.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so you have absolutely no idea what is even one step ahead of you.
Terrifying, right? I mean, the natural human response here is just absolute pure panic.
Oh, absolutely. Most of us wouldn't even attempt a single step. We'd drop straight to our knees, grab the dirt, and just flat out refuse to move an inch.
Exactly.
The brain's survival instincts would completely hijack the nervous system at that point. But, so here is the bombshell from the stack of sources we're looking at for today's deep dive. According to this framework, this isn't just like some stressful thought experiment designed to get your heart rate up.
Right.
This is quite literally an exact metaphor for your daily life, like right now, today.
It really is a staggering visualization to start with. And just to give you a roadmap of where we're heading today, we are analyzing a really fascinating synthesis of materials.
Yeah, it's wild.
We are cross-referencing modern psychological frameworks, specifically, how our brains process risk and reality with these newly translated ancient Buddhist texts.
Which is such an interesting combo.
It really is. And our mission today is to explore how these sources use incredibly vivid modern metaphors, like, walking blindfolded on a cliff edge or strapping on a VR headset.
The VR headset one blew my mind.
Right. And they use these to explain fundamental truths about the fragility of human life.
I do want to set the tone right out of the gate here, though, because I know how that whole setup just sounded.
Yeah, it sounded intense.
Very intense. But we are not doing this to be morbid. We aren't trying to induce an existential panic attack while you're, commuting to work or folding your laundry. The goal of diving into this material is actually the exact opposite of generating anxiety.
Exactly. The intention is entirely geared toward finding profound stability. It's really about understanding the mechanics of why we chase the things we do and how we systematically hide from life's inherent risks.
Because we all do it.
Oh, 100%. And it's about how turning around and actually embracing this terrifying baseline reality is, weirdly enough, the ultimate shortcut to living a grounded, meaningful life.
Yeah, it's like you find solid ground by finally admitting how unstable the environment actually is.
Exactly.
So I want to dig straight into that baseline reality we just established. The blindfold, the narrow path, the cliff. The sources spend a significant amount of time dismantling our everyday illusion of stability.
They really do.
Because we walk around completely convinced we're on solid ground. We buy green bananas, assuming we'll be around to eat them in a few days.
Right. We make 5-year career plans. We sign 30-year mortgages. We just operate on this default assumption that tomorrow is going to be a carbon copy of today. But the reality of human existence is mathematically and physically far more precarious than that.
It is. And the sources break down this precariousness into something they call the 3 dimensions of fragility.
Okay. Yeah, let's unpack.
Yeah. So this isn't just a vague, poetic sense of danger. It has specific, observable mechanics in our lives. So the first dimension they identify is uncertainty. And in our visualization, that is the blindfold.
Because we quite literally cannot see the future, not even 5 seconds into it. I could trip over a mic cord in this studio right now.
Right, exactly. We operate under this intense psychological projection that we know exactly what's coming next week or next year.
Yeah.
But the blindfold represents our absolute biological inability to predict the future.
It's just a blank wall.
Yeah. Every single step we take in life is always stepping into an unmapped void. And then you compound that with the second dimension, which is risk.
Risk, right. So let's say you step carefully into that void. The path itself is still not guaranteed. The ground beneath your feet could spontaneously give way due to erosion. Or, using the terminology from the text, you might suddenly step on a patch of sharp thorns.
And reading through the material, those thorns are the sudden, unavoidable changes that just hit us entirely out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Like a scary health diagnosis on a random Tuesday, or a massive corporate layoff that just, erases your job overnight.
Yeah.
A sudden traumatic rupture in a long-term relationship.
Yeah, those are the thorns that are just scattered all along the path. And finally, you have the third dimension, which is the consequences of distraction.
Right.
Because the path of life is so incredibly narrow, a single misstep, just a momentary lapse in attention, can mean falling off the cliff entirely. The margin for error in human biology, or even in our complex social structures, is shockingly thin.
I was reading this section, and my brain instantly mapped this onto a video game analogy.
I like that.
Yeah, it feels like we are all playing this massive multiplayer game on permadeath mode. The brutal difficulty setting where if your character dies, the save file deletes itself permanently.
Right, no respawns.
Exactly. But not only are we on permadeath mode, we're playing it with the computer monitor completely turned off. We're just like mashing the controller in the dark, hoping our character doesn't walk off a ledge into the abyss.
That analogy actually captures the mechanics of the philosophy perfectly. And if we, pull that thread a bit further, think about how players act in video games.
Oh, they try to break the game.
Exactly. They try to find cheat codes. They try to stockpile extra lives or armor to protect themselves from permadeath. And in the real world, we do the exact same thing.
Oh, well, yeah.
We stockpile money, we chase social status, we build these massive houses, all acting as psychological cheat codes that we think will pad the path or magically widen the cliff.
The monitor is still off.
Right. The monitor is still off, and permadeath is still active. Wealth doesn't stop the ground from collapsing.
That makes so much sense. And honestly, it really reframes how we look at failure, too. Because if you are listening to this right now and you've recently, lost a job or you've gotten some frightening news from a doctor, the default societal reaction is to feel like you were failing at life.
Yes. You feel like you did something wrong to bring this upon yourself.
Right, like you clumsily stumbled off the safe paved path that everyone else is walking on.
But the framework we are analyzing today tells you directly that you are not failing. You haven't done anything wrong at all. You were simply feeling the thorns that were always on the path.
Wow.
You are experiencing the baseline characteristic of being alive. Fragility is the rule of the system, not a temporary glitch.
That is oddly comforting in a very stark, raw kind of way.
Yeah.
But this leads me to a massive contradiction that I kept hitting while reading through these psychology papers.
Okay, what is it?
Well, if the path we're walking is truly this dangerous, like if the cliffs are really that steep, the thorns are everywhere, and the monitor is turned off, why are we all just paralyzed by constant unyielding terror?
Right.
Like, how is it that human beings manage to wake up, pour their coffee, complain about slow Wi-Fi, and just confidently keep walking?
The cognitive dissonance there is massive, for sure. And it brings us to the second major metaphor in our source material, because the human brain is, first and foremost, a survival engine.
Right.
If we actually perceived the cliff edge and the permadeath reality every single second of every single day, our nervous systems would just overload.
We'd short circuit.
Exactly. The cortisol levels alone would shut us down completely. So as a biological and sociological defense mechanism, humanity has essentially strapped on a collective VR headset.
A virtual reality headset.
Yes, a highly advanced, incredibly convincing psychological VR headset. And instead of rendering the terrifying, narrow, razor-edge dirt path, this headset projects a totally different reality into our consciousness. For some, it might project, like a beautiful, sprawling field of flowers. But more commonly, especially in our modern industrialized age, it projects a massive, incredibly safe, 8-lane concrete superhighway.
I absolutely love that imagery. So we're tiptoeing on this tiny, crumbling rock ledge, but through the goggles, we see ourselves cruising down this indestructible, brightly lit superhighway.
Yes, exactly.
No cliffs in sight, no drop-offs, just smooth pavement for miles and miles.
Right, the VR headset creates the illusion of ultimate safety and permanence. It completely masks the fragility, but it does far more than just calm our nerves. To keep us distracted from the edges, the virtual world constantly generates shiny temptations, little pop-up quests, and artificial goals.
Oh, the pop-up quests.
Yeah.
Like an augmented reality game that just keeps pinging you all day.
Exactly.
Like, acquire the corner office, upgrade your car to the luxury model, accumulate 10,000 more followers.
Yes, exactly that. Chasing corporate success, accumulating wealth, obsessing over social status, adhering to whatever arbitrary lifestyle values society has decided are important this decade.
Right,
These are all rendered beautifully in high definition inside the VR headset. We spend our entire lives running around on this imaginary 8-lane highway, chasing virtual trophies, completely oblivious to the real cliff edge just inches from our actual physical feet.
I have to challenge this concept a bit, though, because I feel like this is where ancient philosophy violently rubs up against our modern reality.
Okay, let's hear it.
Is this framework arguing that having goals is inherently bad? Like, is my ambition to get a promotion or my desire to save up for a nice house with a yard for my kids? Is that just a toxic glitch in the VR matrix?
That's a very common pushback.
Because if everything is fake and fragile, it sounds like the advice is to just, I don't know, abandon our careers, move to the woods, and sit in a cave.
The nuance here is critical, and the psychological sources spend a lot of time addressing this exact point.
Okay, got it.
The material is not saying that the goals themselves are inherently evil or useless. Not at all. Providing for your family, seeking intellectual fulfillment in your career, creating art, these are natural, healthy human activities. The danger doesn't lie in having goals.
Then where's the danger?
The danger lies in forgetting you are wearing the headset while you pursue them.
I'm not sure I see the distinction, though. Like, how does knowing about the headset change the pursuit of the goal?
Well, when you forget the headset is on, you start believing the 8-lane highway is the ultimate objective reality. You chase those VR illusions blindly and frankly, desperately.
Okay.
And when you do that, you lose touch with the actual ground beneath your feet. Imagine sprinting as fast as you can after a virtual promotion, assuming you have 8 lanes of concrete safety to maneuver. Because you aren't paying attention to the real narrow path, you're going to accidentally step off the cliff.
Oh, wow.
Or when a real-world thorn inevitably appears, like a health crisis, it destroys you psychologically because your VR headset promised you the road was perfectly smooth.
Ah, I see. So it's the delusion of permanence that causes the suffering, not the goal itself.
Precisely.
You invest so much of your identity into the virtual trophy that when the real world intrudes, you just shatter.
Exactly. What the Buddhist sources describe as awakened people aren't necessarily ascetics who have smashed their VR headsets and dropped out of society to live in the woods.
Right.
They are simply people who retain the constant humming awareness that the headset is on. They know the highway is a projection.
They see the matrix.
Exactly. So while they might still navigate the modern corporate world or build a family, they stop chasing shadows with that white-knuckled desperation. Their primary focus shifts. It is always anchored on feeling the real, solid ground beneath their feet in the present moment, rather than fixating on the virtual horizon.
They know it's a game, they can play the game, they can even enjoy the game, but they never forget the physical laws of the actual room they are standing in.
That's a great way to put it.
They feel the cliff. Which brings us to the ultimate practical question of this whole deep dive. If the key to not falling off the cliff is to be awakened, to feel the real ground instead of the fake highway, how do we actually do that?
It's the big question.
Because let's be honest, the VR headset we are wearing, which is powered by modern capitalism, peer pressure, and biological drives, it is running in like 8K resolution. It is incredibly immersive. How do you break that immersion on a random Tuesday afternoon?
To answer how we practically break the immersion, the source material transitions from modern psychology back to its ancient roots. It ties this entire framework directly into the final dying words of the Buddha.
The final teachings. I mean, this is a moment with immense historical gravity.
It really is. It's known in the Pali Canon as the Pacham Owad. And what's remarkable about this moment is the context. The Buddha had been teaching for 45 years. Scholars often quantify his lifetime of discourses as 84,000 distinct teachings.
84,000.
Yes, 84,000. Just imagine massive libraries filled with complex philosophical treatises, ethical codes, meditation manuals, everything.
That's overwhelming.
Right. But in his final moments, as he is literally passing away, he doesn't introduce some incredibly complex new theory. He doesn't assign a reading list. He takes all 84,000 of those teachings and he condenses them into a single, highly practical instruction. It is an 84,000 to 1 condensation.
That has to be the ultimate executive summary in human history.
Seriously.
To distill an entire global religion into a few breaths.
He summarized everything into a phrase that translates roughly to, all conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence.
All conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence.
I'm getting hung up on the word decay in that quote.
Okay, why is that?
Well, when I hear decay, my mind instantly goes to a rotting apple or like an abandoned building. I don't necessarily think of my career or my relationships. How is the source defining it here in the context of our cliff?
In the Buddhist tradition, this core concept is called appamada, which translates to non-recklessness or heedfulness. When he says all conditioned things are subject to decay, he is applying the universal law of entropy to absolutely everything. Everything.
Yes, he is pointing out the cliff. Every institution you build, every relationship you nurture, the money in your bank account and your own physical body, they are all temporary constructs. They're not permanent fixtures on an 8-lane highway. The ground can and will eventually collapse.
The thorns are real, and the drop-off is inevitable.
And because of that terrifying, inescapable reality, we get the second half of the quote, the call to action. Strive on with diligence.
Strive on with diligence.
Why the urgency? Because life is so profoundly fragile and the blindfold is so completely opaque, we never actually know if tomorrow will arrive or if death will arrive first.
Wow.
Therefore, procrastination isn't just a bad time management habit. In this framework, procrastination is the ultimate existential risk.
Procrastination is the ultimate risk.
Yeah.
Because you are operating on the assumption that you have miles of road left on the 8-lane highway, when in reality, your toes might already be hanging over the edge of the cliff today. But I have to push back on the practical application of this too. Doesn't hyper-awareness of the cliff cause the exact exhaustion and anxiety we are trying to avoid?
How do you aim?
If I am fiercely concentrating on the sheer drop-off while I'm just, trying to make breakfast and get my kids to school, aren't I going to induce a panic attack? It sounds paralyzing.
That is a very common misinterpretation of the practice. The psychology sources differentiate clearly between anxiety and mindfulness.
Okay, what's the difference here?
Well, anxiety is your brain frantically trying to pierce the blindfold. It is projecting into a future you cannot see, trying to map out all the possible ways you might fall off the cliff next week.
Which is impossible.
Right, and that is exhausting. Appamada, or heedfulness, is the exact opposite. It pulls all of your cognitive energy out of the invisible future and focuses it entirely on the single square inch of dirt your foot is touching right now.
So it actually shrinks your world down, rather than expanding it into a million terrifying possibilities.
It radically simplifies your existence. You don't need to memorize 84,000 complex rules to live a good, grounded life. You just need to practice appamada. You just need to not be reckless with the very next step you are taking.
Just the next step.
Exactly. When you are pouring your coffee, you aren't mentally rehearsing an argument for your 10 a.m. meeting. You are just pouring the coffee. You are feeling the weight of the mug.
Because that single current step is literally the only variable you actually control. The blindfold prevents you from seeing step 2 or step 10. You only have step 1.
Yes. When you are talking to your family after work, you actively remind yourself that this moment is entirely fragile. You look at them with the knowledge that this arrangement is temporary.
Right, it won't last forever.
You don't look past them at some fake glowing trophy on the horizon of the 8-lane highway. You stay on the dirt path with them.
Man, it is incredibly easy to get caught up in what I call the when-then trap.
Oh, yes.
Like, when I get this promotion, then I'll finally be happy. Or when I save enough money for retirement, then I'll relax and enjoy my life.
So common.
That is pure VR headset programming. It is entirely built on the assumption that the concrete road goes on forever, and we have an unlimited supply of tomorrows to cash in.
Exactly.
But appamada acts like a splash of ice water to the face. It tells you, no, you're on a cliff, the wind is blowing, your foot is in the air right now, where are you going to put it down today?
It requires a profound shift in perspective to operate that way. And, to circle back to what we established at the very beginning of this deep dive, realizing that life is this fragile is not meant to make you afraid.
Right, because fear paralyzes you.
Exactly. Fear makes your legs shake and it makes you stumble.
Which is the absolute last thing you want to do when you're balancing on a ledge.
Exactly. Acknowledging the cliff is meant to generate profound clarity. When you truly internalize the fragility of the system, it burns away the trivial anxieties.
It puts everything in perspective.
When you see through the illusions of the VR headset, the shiny distractions, the manufactured societal pressures, the arbitrary markers of success, you stop being a passive consumer of a fake, endless reality.
Yeah.
You become a highly self-aware player of the game. You are no longer getting lost in fake goals. You are firmly rooted in the only thing that has any tangible reality, which is the present moment.
I am just struck by how these sources take something so ancient, this 2,500-year-old deathbed teaching, and map it so perfectly onto how stressed, distracted, and overwhelmed we all feel today.
Right.
It cuts straight through the noise of modern life.
The human condition hasn't changed, only the metaphors have. And there is a final translation from the source material that synthesizes this beautifully. It serves as a perfect closing thought for how to navigate the narrow path.
Let's hear it.
The text advises it's okay not to see the future. Just make sure the step you are currently stepping on is placed firmly, mindfully, and with the utmost care.
It's okay not to see the future. That might be the most relieving sentence I've encountered all week.
I agree.
Because the objective truth is, every single one of us is wearing the blindfold. None of us can see the future, no matter how loudly we pretend we can, while cruising down our imaginary 8-lane highways.
Yep, it's just an illusion.
So, as we wrap up today's deep dive, we want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to ponder on your own. Consider it a little real-world experiment you can try long after you finish listening to this.
Highly recommend giving this a try.
If you could somehow reach up and take off that VR headset for just 5 minutes today, like if you could completely strip away all of your anxieties about your career trajectory, forget all the stress about your bank account, and completely tune out whatever it is society expects of you right now.
Just for 5 minutes?
Just 5 minutes. What would the ground under your feet actually feel like?